demo mode. The game started.
Oh, yeah. Dak is probably still asleep, considering it's, I don't know, 7 AM. It's not that early, but...
Pretty sure.
Oof. Okay, so this is 40 orb. So basically, like, how this category works is it's under any other classification, no boss skips. So we need 40 orbs to get into the final boss. And so, yeah, that's basically what this entire run involves doing.
Thanks for helping.
So coming up immediately, you'll see the first use of the double jump, which is the most major skip of this game. You can reach like in many places using it because of just how broken some of the out of bounds and scenery is, as you can see.
You'll also see there double jump doesn't work if you are holding any direction. So what happened there was I was holding a direction while I went for a double jump, and so it just charged instead of giving me the extra jump.
Thanks for helping me like.
Australian internet is kind of interfering right
Yeah.
now.
Spyro,
Yeah, sorry about that. Hopefully it can
this
get a bit better.
So, for the lamps challenges, what he's doing is he's doing a trick called flame charge jumping, which involves flaming, then charging, then jumping. If that wasn't obvious enough. And it, like, it makes your flame go, upwards, so you can hit those lamps. You can also, like, double jump and glide, or do a certain time double jump flame charge, and it will move the flame upwards.
Yep, pretty much. As Grant said, it's either gonna get better or much worse. But yeah, so basically all we're doing is we're moving through the levels and we've basically routed out all of the fast orbs to get. And as I said, we need 40 to unlock the final boss as intended. So we're just trying to do that as quickly as possible. There's not too much to say in some of these levels. You'll notice I'm killing enemies. That's because there's a power-up that we need to activate by killing 8 enemies in this level.
And you're not going for beetle, right?
No.
There is a different route you could do in this level that involves going for a little bit more difficult strat called a proxy, which we'll get into later, because this one has a few of those, which he will be going for.
Spyro, you.
You'll notice a lot as well, I'm using what we call flame charges, which is basically flaming baskets, but tricking it, or tricking the game into thinking you've charged them. And so the gems will home in, and this allows you to sort of cut corners and stuff a lot because of the... Like, we want to get the gems, but we don't want to go so out of our way to get them all. So that's where we use flame charging.
It might seem a little bit slight, but it adds up in time save.
Hi, Spyro. Okay, nice job.
So again here we're just using double jump to like just completely break how the game was actually intended to be completed. There are so many areas where we can get to that weren't intended for us to get to without buying abilities and doing things slowly, basically.
Yeah, so you can jump straight to the orb on the mountainside right there, which would...
At the start here, I'm going for no skip, so that's the thing where a lot of the terrain in this game, because it was on the PlayStation and they needed to save space, the visual or the texture for it is there where there isn't actually any collision. So you can sort of just go through a lot of walls that seem like they should be solid but aren't.
Oh, thank goodness.
So this level is pretty much completely routed around doing the level while we do the challenge for the statue challenge. And so normally the statue challenge probably wouldn't be worth it as far as like how long it actually takes to do, but because like we need to get gems as well to buy swim after this level, it becomes pretty worth it to just sort of route the whole level around doing that challenge.
Yes, and there's an out of bounds that only works on the NTSC version into one of the rooms.
I thought the Yeti...
Not sure why, but I have a lot of delay on hitbox right now, so forgive me if I'm explaining things a little late.
So yeah. Now that we're out of Colossus, we'll be buying Swim, which is basically the only tight gem routing for this game is in those first 3 levels, because we need to get the 500 gems to buy Swim before that point. After this, we need to buy 2 more things, but you basically get enough gems passively just playing through the levels to actually buy the remaining 2 things that we need to rest of the run.
There's only a few things he'll go completely out of his way for.
Thanks for shutting down.
An extra 0.5, yeah, that'd be nice. So again, just utilizing the double jump to break how the levels are intended to be completed. And coming up here will be the first proxy that I'm going to be doing in the run, which is a squeeze proxy. So basically we just squeeze ourselves in between the door frame there and the terrain.
And you can get some,
And it gives us a
you can
proxy.
get some insane height off of it.
And unlike most of the other proxies, that proxy is pretty free, whereas the one that I'll be going for in this next level and the level after are a lot more precise with the inputs you need to do to actually get them.
The proxy he's going to be going for in this level is kind of infamous for being a little more difficult than every other proxy in the game.
But at the same time, you get to retry it pretty quickly, so it's not too bad as some of the others, in my opinion.
There is a route where you do not buy swim at all, that you have to get a very large proxy from the very beginning of the level. But it's a lot more difficult because of that proxy, along with a few other things you have to do in this category.
So as you can see, basically what I'm trying to do here is get inside the turtle's head and then just jump out, and if you time it right, you can see I'm getting small ones, and I basically need to get one high enough to get up to turtle, or one of the challenges, which is, if you can get this quickly, it's definitely a lot faster. So we've got the proxy now, but basically because we don't have climb yet, we need to get that proxy to actually get up here, as it wouldn't be worth it to double back to this level at a later point. Okay, this is going well. 3 turtles, boys. Dom would be proud. So yeah, now that we've got the gem, we can leave this level.
Thank you.
You'll notice as well, in some levels I leave through the portal, and others I will pause to leave. That all just depends on how close the end of level portal is when we want to leave, as to whether that's worth it or not. We're going for an interesting trick here. It's basically an out of bounds using how that door works, and then we go for a swim off the little bit of water that is like outside of the Sunny Villa, Sunny Beach portal. And so that allows us to get a swim in air, which makes getting those 2 orbs in the homeworld a lot more consistent and a lot faster.
So going into Aquaria, there's another big proxy jump he's going to be going for. It's off of the sheep. You can only do this on the sheep from the underwater areas, but you have to flame them and jump inside of their hitbox, and you can get huge height off of them if you time it well enough and have the right setup.
And so if you fail it, you sort of need to... It's close. But yeah, if you fail it, you need to go down this path and go past a certain point to respawn the sheep so that you can try it again. So that's where I was saying failing this proxy can cost a lot more time than Turtle, because you need to respawn the sheep. Yeah, third try, it's not too bad. But yeah, basically, Turtle you can sort of retry over and over again pretty quickly. Sheep takes a little bit more time to respawn, or retry.
The advantage of this proxy, though, is you skip a mother bags, which is... it's not as important in this category, but it's really useful for 14 Talisman, where the gem route is pretty tight.
So we're doing another trick here where we basically just swim into the ground for a while, which then gets us out of bounds, and we can get the orb from saving this last seahorse, which is the only seahorse that this king actually cares about. He doesn't really care about his other 5 children.
Normally, you'd have to go through like a huge sequence of going through these towers, but you can just out of bounds into the very last tower, and you'll get the orb.
And remember, he's brand new, so try not to get him dented or scratched up.
So now we're doing a pretty self-explanatory Hunter's Challenge, where not much here to explain, other than we get 2 orbs pretty quickly from
Okay, good luck.
swimming on a manta ray.
Incredible.
So this is pretty much Summer Forest done now. We've got all the orbs we're going to get from here. We've got all the talismans. So now we're going to go and fight the first boss of the game.
And if you're wondering why we had to do the sheep proxy, it's because if you talk to the guy that gives you the talisman at the end, if you don't have the water down throughout the entire level, then he won't give you the talisman. So you have to sheep proxy over to the button that releases all the water, so you can get the talisman at the end.
Get to the castle dungeon.
This is the first boss of the game. Basically, we do a lot of damage abusing to make this fight faster. Because I want to have him stay on this circle of the ground, using the damage abusing to get him to walk just off of the platform and then back onto it is the fastest way. And then once he gets to the last phase of the fight, this button is a blue one, which is the faster, or not faster, but the easier one for us to work with.
And a little thing in this fight, he's trying to make Crush face the circle he's going to next. If you don't do that, he'll take a little bit to turn around and face the circle again, so he can move. So he's kind of just like...
But yeah, because Crush always faces you no matter what animation he's in, you can sort of turn him around to make him not waste as much time turning around on his own. So this next level we do a pretty decent job of breaking with double jumps and wall glides. Normally you would need to free a whole bunch of NPCs that are stuck in ice, as you can see, but we can just sort of forget about them and do our own thing as we go.
So how the wall glide works is you can gain height from gliding along a wall, and if you have the right angle, you'll gain a lot more height, and you can kind of just get like a flop up to the ledge up there.
So yeah, we've done the wall glide, we've done the long double jump, which I'm pretty sure needs to be a walking double jump, which is something we haven't really touched on yet. is that if you do a double jump after, like, right after you stop walking, it will carry some of the momentum from when you were moving into the double jump. And so that's important when we go for long double jumps where we basically are like looking to hover onto somewhere. It just gives us that little bit of extra distance. Now in this level I'll be trying another proxy, which isn't as important as the other two that we've gone for so far, but it does save a few seconds if you manage to get it.
It's important to breaking you though.
Okay, you've unfortunately missed it, but it's not too bad. So now we're doing the Dino Challenge, which some of you might remember being rather difficult, but because we do it so often, you pretty much know how it goes every time, and so unless you screw up somehow, it's not too bad, and really quick orbs to get.
If you know exactly where the eggs will spawn,
Thank you for helping us.
then, or when they'll hatch, you can do this challenge very easily.
Okay, we got the Dactyramby jumpy jump though, so it's all good.
Excellent.
Yeah, that jump. All those people in the name contributed to it in some way.
Yeah, so I think basically it was Jumpy that someone, or that Dact first saw do it, and so Dact thought it was cool and started going for it. And then Jeremy sort of figured out that there would be a better way to go for it, which is where we flop onto it, as opposed to, I think, just going for the jump.
I think Jumpy hovered or something.
So, Crystal Glacier, as well as this level that we're in now, Breeze Harbour, are sort of unique in that we don't, or not unique, but there are a few levels where we don't get any orbs because the orbs in those levels are just really slow to get, I guess is the only real way to say it. So in those levels we just skip straight to the end. So as you can see here, normally you would go through the entire level and activate a bunch of whirlwinds and stuff. But for us, we just jump straight over to the boat, do a few double jumps and a wall glide, and then we're done the level. Now we're up to something that is probably one of the hardest things to learn to people just starting this game, and that's climb skip. Because climb is, I think, 500 gems, and that's a lot to route in. We don't route those gems in. Because we can double jump, we can just skip climb entirely.
Yeah,
But yeah, as people start out, it's definitely one of the things that takes a lot of practice to get used to initially.
yeah. So when you're jumping from the ground to the portal, you have to do like a specific wall glide and a turning input. And then for the flop up onto the ledge, it takes a good setup and timing. So it's a lot for new people. A lot to learn.
So yeah, Scorch is another one of the levels where the orbs in the level just aren't quick to get at all. Or Monkeys is debatably quick, but if you do Turtle Proxy, like I do, It's generally not as quick as doing Turtle Soup, so
If you don't do the Cloud
you
Temple
just skip.
sequence break, then it's worth it to do monkeys, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah. But yeah, for this route, it's just another one of the levels that we skip straight to the end for.
There is a route that the world record holder does, where he does monkeys, Draclets and Crystal Glacier, and Party Poopers and Magma Cone. So it can completely leave out a level from Winter Tundra, but that's a very difficult route, mainly because of a more difficult skip in Crystal Glacier, and Party Poopers and Magma Cone being a lot more difficult without the Fireball power-up.
For this again. Let's show it off. Basically, it's another thing that is credited to Jumpy, that we flame it, or flame the Satyr while we're gliding. And so while the animation cutscene plays, or the cutscene for the building losing its stuff plays, we are still gaining distance as far as where we want to go in the level.
You can also do that in another way by hitting the edge of the Satyr's hitbox with a charge and then immediately gliding, but most people find it more difficult.
This is another spot where, because of the space limitations on the PS1, they didn't code collision for the top of that building because they never expected you to get up there. But with double jump, we again just sort of break that and just clip straight through the building. Now we're doing a sequence break here that requires us to know how much we need to hit these shapers. Basically, I'm not sure who, but someone sat down and figured out how many times you need to hit all of them for the alchemist to just go through without you needing to be there to help him out. And so while he's walking through, now that we've hit them all, we just go and get the end of level talisman. And then once he finishes his journey past all the Earthshapers, we'll get warped back to Hunter to collect the orb. There's a different way that you can do something there where you get the last Satyr during that challenge as well, but it makes the timing for it a lot more tight and a lot easier to miss, so
Yeah, it's definitely not marathon safe, unless you're really good at it.
yeah.
Alright, this level involves 2 RNG based challenges. It involves when and where the crystal popcorn appear for the challenge, and you have to get 10 for the first one and 15 for the second one before Hunter gets 10 or 15.
Hey, Spy! I'm ready when you are.
So basically we can tell where they're going to pop up because of the steam, and where they spawn is completely RNG, so they can either spawn really close and be very fast to get, or they can spawn far away and take a long time to get.
Okay.
Again, like we said, it's pretty much completely RNG.
I'll give you enough. I'm ready when you are.
Popcorn 2 is sort of scary because if you have bad RNG, and Hunter can just sort of decide to go ham sometimes in Popcorn 2. And so if you sort of stop thinking about it for a second or two, you can sort of have Hunter get away from you, and can just get a whole bunch of popcorn really quickly.
Yeah, I've known a lot of people learning this category struggle with this challenge because Hunter can just go ham a lot and get all the popcorn in like 30 seconds.
You're really...
So again, now that we've got our orbs, we're just going to go to the end of the level. We do an interesting jump here, where with Superfly you can get a much larger... It's almost like doing a double jump, but like with Superfly power up. And so it just gives you insane amounts of height. Again, because we don't buy climb, we need to do that jump to activate the end of level talisman.
Yeah, when you're flying, it's kind of like you're on the ground, so if you fly up really high, then you'll be starting the double jump from that area.
I could let you... No one's been through that portal.
So this is the first of the 2 money bags that we need to pay for, that I mentioned earlier.
Customer, Spyro.
The second is the next level, right after this one. Basically, for whatever reason, Moneybags has all the keys to the portals and bridges in this world, and so you need to pay him so that he lets you through. I need to exit this level with about 300 gems, so that I'll have the 400 by the time I get to Moneybags. Another thing to note is the level order we do for this homeworld. We sort of leave one of the levels in the first half, like before climb, and that's because of an orb that we want to get that also has gems that we wouldn't, or is a lot faster to get if we do the levels in the order we do them.
Yeah, there is a way to get the orb we're talking about earlier, like without having to go to the end of the
Thanks for helping me.
Autumn Plains area, but it is much more difficult. I believe Puppet found it, and no one's really found it viable yet.
We'll go for that snipe, we'll go for the second one. I can never get this one anyway, so...
The first one?
Yeah, the first one, I don't know. Just never get it. But basically, there's a thing you can do with... I got it here, yeah, so... That first one you can hit with a rock, like I hit that one as well. And it means you don't have to chase the thief at all.
Thanks for bringing
Getting the second one is more important anyway, so... So yeah, as I said, there's a lot of gems on the route here, going to the orb and the last level in this homeworld. So, the fact that I still need quite a few isn't too big a deal. It's pretty easy to get those orbs. Gems, rather. As you can see, we double jump up onto the roof, glide over to this one, and then do another double jump over to this island.
Each of the baskets on the island has 25 gems in it, and since there's 3, you get a lot of gems just from that one orb detour.
Yeah.
Which is one of the main reasons why 40 Orb's kind of known for not needing a very tight gem route.
The skips in this level are quite interesting because the terrain is pretty different to any other level. In that, like, all the edges are sort of more like hills than anything. And so you can sort of walk on quite a few of them. Get sparks here because I don't want to be sparks going into gulp.
And there is a kind of out of bounds you can do after the talisman, which is a little bit more complicated because there's an invisible wall around the edges.
Damn.
But you can kind of slip through the invisible walls, and get on top of the hills, so you can get to the orbs faster. That's a little bit precise.
So I missed it there, but basically where I hovered there
Well done.
is where what Walkers was talking about. And yeah, like you said, there's invisible walls that you sort of need to go under and around to actually get up there. It's not as simple as just double jumping over. It saves probably 10 to 15 seconds to get that jump. Maybe that's exaggerating, but it's quite a bit.
I believe Puppet found that. Just to credit him, he's found many things in this game that are like pretty interesting.
Well done, Spyro. You'll have to jump down the
So
hole.
now we're going to go and fight Gulp, which is pretty infamous for being very RNG heavy.
Gulp.
I'd say it's the most RNG heavy thing in this entire game. And near the end of it, or during the fight, he's going to be taking damage because he wants to leave Gulp with no sparks damage, or no sparks health. For a trick that would come up soon after the fight.
But yeah, I think basically how we understand it is Sparks has a lot of particles and stuff that go along with him. And so when we go for a trick later on, having Sparks and all those extra particles and stuff just sort of causes the game to crash. But if we don't have Sparks, it just seems to work. No one really knows exactly why, but so what we're doing here is going for double hits. The double hit on that phase is pretty free because they're guaranteed to both be rockets. So double hits in these later phases are a bit more important.
If you get really good RNG, you can get triple hits also. Those are pretty rare.
But Gulp likes to just sort of run around and eat things, and so can make getting double hits hard if you're not fast. So again, we've got 2 rockets, so getting the double hit is pretty easy, and I take my first damage there. Hopefully he doesn't eat that. So again, you get a rocket and a barrel, which is a pretty easy double. I take another hit of damage. So now I've just got one single to get and take damage at the same time so that I don't have sparks. So that's Gulp done.
So what he's going to be doing next is
I
abusing
think I
double
finally come
jumps
up
to
with a way.
skip paying for head bash, which costs 1,000 gems. So it's a pretty major skip. And immediately after that, he's going to be going out of bounds and going into the Dragon Shores loading zone, so he can get into there earlier. And once we get in there, you'll see.
That was interesting. That's like literally the worst death that could have happened. I think I'm gonna damage abuse in Robotica, just so that I can show off swag swing. So, because I died there, I got full sparks back, which is probably the worst thing that could have happened in that situation. So, normally if that happened, you would go and do a different trick in Dragon Shores, or, I mean, ultimately the run would probably be over, but you would do a different trick in Dragon Shores if you were going to continue. That involves getting off the roller coaster to get into theatre.
You'll see that in any percent later in the marathon.
But yeah, as Walker's mentioned earlier, we're going to get onto the scenery now. Again, because double jumps are really broken. And as Walker's sort of touched on earlier, all the portals, when they're not activated, are stored underneath where their portals would be, but out of bounds. But because we can get out of bounds so easily, it's pretty easy to hit the portals that we're going for. And so as you can see there, I just glided under where the Dragon Shores portal would be if it was active. Get warped into Dragon Shores.
So there's two reasons why we're going into Dragon Shores. There's two things that you can get there. You can get the Infinite Fireball power-up, and you can go into the theater. Infinite Fireball is useful for a number of things in this game, and the theater, what that's useful for is, if you watch the last cutscene in the theater, you'll get all of the abilities, so swim, climb, and head bash. And why we want to do this is so we can get the orb from head bashing the rock in Winter Tundra.
So this is pretty much as bad as this segment could go. Because I landed in front of the door, it's basically a soft lock in the scope of that level. And so I need to exit and then go back into Dragon Shores to try again. And I really love Well, I've shown off Swag Sim, so I guess I'm gonna do RC Escape now, because I have sparks again.
But you have sparks again.
This is what I was worried about. I went too low.
Yeah.
So, we got over the wall again, and now we're going to go for RC Escape to get into theatre.
Welcome to the... Watch out for the other coasters out there. It's a crowded track today.
So this trick basically lets us get onto the actual track.
Coasters out there. It's a crowded track today.
And I think from DAX testing it works out to be about a 3-frame window that we have to actually get off the coaster.
Ow, that look. Watch out for the other
Yeah,
coasters
I
out
remember
there. It's a crowded track
it was
today.
somewhere like one frame, and then there's another frame where if you land on that one, then you'll just spin around
Watch
on the
out for
cart,
the
and then
other
you have another
coasters
2
out there.
frames
It's
where
a
it will work.
crowded track today.
If I remember correctly.
Ow, that Watch
Yeah, it
out
was
for the
something
other
like that.
coasters out
So
there.
yeah, again, normally you wouldn't do this method in 40 orb because we would get into theater, but because I landed in front of the door and then
Watch out for the other coasters out
screwed
there.
other stuff up as well.
Crowded track today.
I'm not a fan of this segment. The Dragon Shore segment is something I'm always afraid of when I do runs of
Watch
this
out for
category.
the other coasters out there. It's a crowded track today.
Okay, so we're off the coast now, and we do a double jump up here, glide into the... and so now we watch the last cutscene like we would have earlier if we'd gotten straight in here. And so basically, watching that final cutscene removes all of the money bags from the games, and also gives you anything that you would have bought from him. So any abilities you haven't bought, as well as any portals that you haven't paid to unlock that he unlocks, is all unlocked by watching that last cutscene in the theater. And so now we go back and do 4 more levels in Winter Tundra to get the rest of the orbs. Because we also have permanent fireball now, it makes things a lot faster on top of that.
These levels, in comparison to Autumn Plains and Summer Forest, are much quicker to get all the orbs in. Mainly because, or one of the reasons is that the end of levels no longer give you talismans, they give you orbs.
Excellent work.
Ah,
And so that first UFOs challenge is a bit hard to optimize because it's on a global cycle. And so
I knew it.
if the start of your level is different, it will like change what cycle the UFOs are on. But you'll notice this second UFOs challenge, the cycle starts when the challenge is activated by talking to the robot at the end of level here. And so it's a lot easier to optimize that second UFOs challenge. So this next level is pretty much all just basic movement as well as the movement to it. Just sort of getting good at being able to move through everything quickly. Again, just more double jumps, flops up onto places. That's the thing we didn't really touch on. Basically when you're flopping, Spyro will sort of get up onto pretty much any surface. And so we use flops a lot coupled with double jumps to get places that we really shouldn't be able to.
Yeah, it has kind of the mechanic of climbing up a ledge slightly. it kind of conserves your momentum and moves you upward when you're in that animation.
What? Oh.
So I didn't get the best possible thing there, but we're basically doing a small sequence break here where you can normally get both of those thieves that have the spark plugs while getting the end of level orb. And then we finish the thieves challenge here. We're done with this level. But basically, because these last homeworld levels don't have talismans, you get orbs for the end of level. It's why things become a lot faster for these levels to get orbs in.
Well, it's some.
So this next level has the sequence break that we very quickly touched on earlier in the run. Where if you don't do this, it's faster to do the monkeys challenge. And double jumps to do this challenge before we're meant to.
Yeah, you would usually have to
I suppose you want.
kill like I think 21 enemies, and
Yeah, it's 21.
get that power up so it can freeze some
Thanks, Spyro.
NPCs. To use its platforms to hit the bells, but you can just fireball them and use double
Yeah.
jumps.
Yeah, again, because we have fireball, it makes things a lot faster. So what I'm going for here is the sequence break. We shoot that guy at the end of level. End of level is needed to trigger by killing that guy. So we shoot him, and then we go down and start the Agent Zero challenge. And then we walk into the area that allows the game to like figure out that, oh, you shot the end of level enemy, while also starting, like running behind the tree to start the Agent Zero challenge. And so while we're getting the end of level orb, the Agent Zero challenge starts, and so that saves quite a bit of time. So yeah, just not getting caught by Agent Zero. Probably one of the few true auto-scroller sections of this run, where you just have no control over how fast things go. So we're coming up to the final level before we go and beat Ripto here. This level is, again, similar to one of the early levels we did, in that we need to get a certain amount of enemies to activate a power-up at the end of level to get another orb. Which we would be able to get without getting all of these enemies if it weren't for two of the breakable objects along the supercharged track, which we can only break with the supercharge for whatever reason. Using fireball on them doesn't break them. like it does the pumpkins.
My fields.
Also snake. Again, getting the end of level orb, and then we'll go and do, as you saw, I was shooting all the pumpkins along the way, and that, so we'll shoot that one there, and then that one, and then,
You can supercharge the rest of the objects along the path.
so we get those last two pumpkins while we're supercharging, and then these are the two walls that we can't break with Fireball, for whatever reason. And so as soon as we break that last one, we just get warped back, we get the orb, and then we've got 40 orbs, and the only thing left to do is beat Ripto. So in this run it makes levels easier, but basically in pretty much every category we get Fireball before Ripto fight for pretty much making the fight free as far as RTA goes. If, or the TAS of this Ripto fight or any of the categories wouldn't get the Fireball because it can do the Ripto fight faster than it takes to go get Fireball and then do the Ripto fight.
Yeah, I believe, or I'm not sure exactly, but Ripto might be more RNG heavy than Pulp without Fireball.
And so what I'm doing here is shooting, or where I'm shooting fireballs in one phase to where Ripto in the next phase starts. And so if I skip the cutscene quickly enough, the fireballs remain and we'll hit Ripto at the start of the next phase. Basically an early hit, which saves just a little bit of time. And then that's time.
Yeah, good run except for Dragon Shores.
Yeah, other than Dragon Shores, everything went pretty well.
Alright. There, 57, 57, 57.
Is that what you got?
There you go.
Yeah.
It's totally worth it. Absolutely worth it.
Suppose you have to go now?
Yeah, I'd better. They'll be missing me in the Dragon Worlds, and I've still got a vacation to take. More than ever now.
Before you go, I think that Moneybags
So GG, and I think Grant's up next for 100 egg.
Yeah.
I'm not wrong.
That's correct.
Spyro, Moneybags is very sorry that he made you pay so much on your way through Avalar. We want you to keep the gems as a reward for helping us.
Wow, thanks. Sparks, can you grab them? Let me just type in the new coordinates.